The SG Child Show is back for its 13th season. Join Sarah Bradford and the SG Child Show team as they explore the world of autism and share stories of hope and inspiration. This season, we're excited to bring you more autism summits featuring experts and advocates from around the world. Go to sgchilds.org.
In the heart of the city, she's shining bright. Oh yeah, stories of love and courage all throughout the night.
Hey everyone, just wanted to give you an update. The second annual International Autism Summit was such a success. Thank you to our sponsors and our amazing speakers. If you're interested in seeing any of those sessions, go to my YouTube channel, The SG Child Show, the live tab, and you can see each day, and their sessions are timestamped in the description. Hope to see you guys there. Hi, welcome to the SG Child Show. It's a beautiful spring day, at least here in Salt Lake City. Where are you at today, Dr. Levy?
Excuse me, in New Jersey today.
Okay, New Jersey. And how's the weather over there?
We are
It
also
looks coming in.
a sunny day. It was really cold on Sunday, and now it's a nice, sunny, beautiful day. So I'll take
I
it.
love that. Love it. Love spring and fall. I mean, I guess it just every season has its own little fun spot, I guess. Can be appreciated in one way or another. But we're not here to talk about the seasons. Thank you so much for being here today. Dr. Emily Levy, is that how I pronounce it? Levy?
But you were close. Levy.
Okay. I'm very phonetic. So bless my heart on that. But yeah, it's so nice to meet you. And I look forward to getting into our conversation today. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, introduction, and we'll jump right in.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here. I am the founder and director of EBL Coaching, which is a one-on-one tutoring program where we specialize in providing research-based multisensory tutoring to students as young as the preschool level up through the adult level that have specialized learning needs. To date back a little bit, I actually grew up in the field of special education. My mother was the founder of a school for students with learning disabilities. So I kind of spent my young childhood, my whole childhood really, working at her school, working with kids, observing kids, and seeing what an amazing difference it could make to have the right support and the right strategies in place for kids. I then went to Brown University. I ended up getting my master's degree in special education as well as my doctorate degree in education. And now for about 21 years, which makes me feel very old, I've been running EBL Coaching. We continue to grow and expand. We're physically based in New York City and New Jersey, but we work with kids and adults actually worldwide throughout the United States and in many other countries, providing this kind of specialized one-on-one tutoring.
And I love that you had that background of really seeing firsthand on a wide scale. It sounds like not just a small group that I had a class, or anything, but you probably saw a lot of, children, adults go in and out and get it when they get the supports they need, just be so empowered and thrive and have success in a new way that maybe they hadn't achieved or felt before. And, just being a parent and seeing your child grasp something new or different for the first time, you're like, yes, it is so nice. But when kids are struggling, that's another hard thing, how sometimes we don't know how to help our kids and how to help our, it's hard when people get into adulthood that still need the supports, but I'm so glad that you guys offer supports like that. Yeah. And it must be hard for them to come forward maybe and ask for help. What do you advise people kind of to get started? Like, what's your message that you want, people to come on in and let us help you?
Sure. Well, I think many years ago, there was sort of this negative stigma attached to getting a diagnosis, having a learning challenges or an attentional challenge, getting tutoring. It was almost sort of this negative cloud around all of that. And I think so much of that is changing. There's a lot more awareness. There's a lot more diagnosis happening. There's so many amazing research-based strategies that are now available to help kids and to really help them thrive in school. So I believe there's so many positives about identifying the difficulties that your child is having and then seeking the right support for them, both inside of school and then if need be outside of school, to give them the tools, to give them the strategies to help them thrive. Because every child, even if they struggle tremendously in school, they all have gifts. And so we have to play up the areas and build the areas they struggle with while continue to build those areas of strength.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there school districts that you work with one-on-one to help out, the larger community?
Well, all of the work that we do is one-on-one. We do have some group summer programs that we run. So
That's
really
great.
mostly after school and weekends. Yeah, we work with kids in all different schools, in public schools, everywhere, in parochial schools, in independent schools, all kinds of charter schools. We work with kids from all types of schools, and there are struggles everywhere. But again, if we give kids that support, it's amazing how much they can really thrive.
Is there a common thread or challenge that you see across the board? I'm sure it's very individualized and unique to each individual, but anything that you might have parents look for and keep their eyes open to be able to help their kiddo?
Sure. Well, of course, it is all individualized to the needs of each child. But I think that if a parent is seeing their child struggle with a skill or a set of skills, whether it's younger kids learning how to identify the names of the letters and their corresponding sounds and then how to blend those together, if they struggle with that or struggle with writing letters, numbers, words, eventually sentences and paragraphs, that could be a sign of struggle. With math, are they having difficulty learning those basic facts, addition, subtraction, multiplication? Do they struggle with multi-step problems or with word problems? Are they struggling tremendously with their homework to the point that they just can't get it done? I think if parents are noticing any of these kinds of struggles, it makes sense to start by having a conversation with their child's teacher. See if they're noticing those same kinds of struggles in school or maybe additional struggles. And if so, they may want to consider having an evaluation done either in school, which is free of charge. They can have one done outside of school, just to really identify what, if anything, may be going on, and then what kind of supports does my child need.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the kiddos who we know need the support, and how do you put those in place with those families to start a practice?
Sure. Well, we work, as I mentioned, with kids who have all different types of specialized needs, kids who have learning disabilities, including dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, ADHD, autism, speech and language challenges, really all different types of challenges. Once we know what the challenge is, usually we'll still do our own initial assessment just to specifically gauge the academic skills they're struggling with and what within those skills they're struggling with. Meaning, if a parent comes to us and said, my child is really struggling with reading. Well, first off, is it reading comprehension? Is it decoding? Is it reading fluency? If it's decoding, are they struggling with basic single syllable words? Are they struggling with multisyllabic words? So we want to really pinpoint what exactly is the issue so that we can then use a targeted approach with the right, again, research-based multisensory methods that are catered to their specific levels and their specific needs.
I love that. And, after school programs and summer programs, parents they're so grateful for them. Is what I'm trying to say, because there's only so much help that kids can get during the school day from the teachers. What about homeschool, things like that? How much do you see like homeschool moms or that reaching out and needing some kind of extra tutoring services?
Yeah, so we do a good amount of work with kids who are homeschooled as well. And there's so many different scenarios within that. Sometimes we do all of the homeschooling where the child will come in for several hours a day and we'll provide all of the instruction. But I would say in more cases, the parent is doing most of the instruction, but we'll come in and provide certain support. Maybe it's reading using the Orton-Gillingham method, or writing, or kind of specific skill areas that are built in within the homeschool curriculum that the parent is following. So that varies a little bit, but there's different scenarios that we do with homeschooling.
What kind of maybe tips or activities can we do at home to start supporting our kids after they've gone through a program?
Well, again, a lot of it really depends on what is their challenge and what within each skill do they need help with. I find the best thing a parent can do from our angle is to reinforce in between sessions what we covered during the tutoring session. So, like I said, we'll always have a targeted plan with specific materials, manipulative learning games that go along with it. And if a parent is open to it, we're always happy to give parents tools and games that they can use with their child in between sessions to reinforce what we're covering so that there's continuity and consistency. And we just tend to see progress that much faster that way.
I love that. And for some of our newer parents out there, or just maybe people that want, special education teachers, anybody that wants some ideas, let's talk about the learning styles, because I think we can go back to basics and really cover those things so that anybody listening can say, yeah, this is, but what if they don't understand the way their child is learning to begin with?
Sure.
Can you talk to us about that, and kind of we'll uncover that a little and give them a background, if you will?
Yeah, so there's different types of learning styles. There are kids who are more visual learners, where of course they learn more by seeing and visualizing. Then there's more auditory learners, where they learn more by kind of listening. And then there's tactile kinesthetic learners, where they learn by sort of physically touching and manipulating. And then, of course, when we use a multi-sensory approach, where we sort of engage all of those senses, that really helps almost everyone. So I love the multisensory approach. It's very effective. It's research-based, especially effective for kids who have learning and or attentional challenges, but it's fun. The kids like it. And I find it's just effective for all kids.
I love that. And what are some of the parents' testimonials? What have parents said? What are some stories you can share with us?
I mean, it warms my heart when I think of all the stories that I've heard. And a lot of times parents will come back to me many, many years later, and they'll just bring me up to speed about where their child is at, or they'll reach out to me about their younger child, and then they'll fill me in on their older child, which is always a nice testimony to their happiness, the fact that they're bringing their younger child back. But, just recently I had a father reach out to me. We worked with his son, I believe, when he was in middle school. And his father called to tell me he's at Georgetown now studying engineering, which I thought was amazing because he really struggled academically. There was another boy that I actually worked with a million years ago who was in first grade at the time, who his mom reached out. He struggled so much. He had severe dyslexia and severe ADHD, made it through school, which was a real struggle, made it through college and made it through graduate school, and is now working in New York City. So, when I hear these stories of long-term success, it just warms my heart. I see all the time more of the short-term success stories, a child who came in and couldn't read, and now 6 months later they're reading. And I love that. And then when I hear these long-term stories of success, it's like all of those little milestones turned into something big. And I just love it. It's what keeps me going every day.
Absolutely. And you must have a great team. And how much emphasis is it for, building that relationship with that student?
It is such a big part of it. It's probably 50% of it is having that bond, that connection. So that's really a big part of what we do. I always try when possible to meet with each student myself to gauge their needs, to gauge their personality, and to really identify the kind of person that I think would work best with them, because it becomes almost a mentorship, a bond, and that allows them to be that much more receptive to the instruction. So important.
Absolutely. Oh, and the growth that can come out of somebody having a mentor and really, not only living up to their kind of idea of what somebody's thinking of them, but then looking back and seeing how they lived it up to themselves and they really did it themselves. And to have that, that's so rewarding for individuals. And yeah, my own children have seen my daughter struggle and get the support she needed and then go on to, read wonderfully, have a lot more success for herself. And I think that it's so great that we have these types of resources. Again, I'm going to put the website up, eblcoaching.com. And let's kind of jump ahead, or not really ahead, but let's talk about adult support or older kind of support for adults. What does that look like? And what would an adult come to you looking for? And how do you put that in place?
That's a great question. And there's so many different needs that we see with adults. So we do work with a lot of adults who have dyslexia and just never got the right support to build their reading skills. And now all of a sudden they're in the workplace and they just still can't read. Or they have dysgraphia or learning disability in writing, and they have to write an email and they just can't compose it. They can't write a resume. We also have adults who have ADHD and struggle with organization, time management, planning, executive functioning skills. A lot of times it manifests itself in the workplace, and that's often what triggers them to come and get the help because they thought they chose a career that maybe didn't involve reading and writing, but everything involves reading and writing. So, even if you're a car mechanic, you might still have to write emails. So these are skills that everyone needs help with and needs to have strong abilities in. And I also think, like I alluded to earlier, many years ago, we didn't have the kinds of support and resources that we have now for kids. So many adults just went through school not getting the right support, not feeling smart, not feeling empowered. And now all of a sudden they're an adult and these resources are available. And now they want to get that support for themselves.
Yeah. Are there apps or tools, AI, things like that you suggest that to adults, I think preferably more appropriate for, in organizing or maybe helping to write, emails, things like that? Are there those types of tools that you suggest, or do you suggest not to use them?
Well, it's a very tricky one with AI. I think if used appropriately, AI is a great tool. I think it's probably easier for adults to understand how to use it appropriately than for kids. My worry for kids is that it's just going to take over teaching kids how to read and write, because why learn how to write an essay when you can have ChatGPT write it for you?
Yeah.
And that worries me. That really worries me a lot with the future of education for kids. With adults, though, I think if an adult has a learning disability and really can't write an email or can't, put a resume together, I think AI is a great tool. I wouldn't rely on it solely. I've seen resumes that are generated by AI and they look like they were generated by AI. They don't feel real to me. And so I think having that human touch and having someone to support them, even if they're using AI as part of this process, I think having another adult or a coach or someone that can still help them with that skill is key. But I do think there's some great resources that AI can really help them, especially if they really struggle with these skills.
Yeah. And like you said, especially adults that have gone through their whole life and now they might have a tool that could be more helpful and assistive for them. I know my husband is dyslexic, for example, and he does construction, which he's wonderful at, I think, because he's also autistic. So he has this, perfectionistic, but he tells me of the times when he really panics, when he's, did I just flip those numbers? Did I just write down the measurement incorrectly? Things like that. Are there any wear a type of certain kind of glasses, things like that? Or is it real? Do people need to really kind of get the help they need? Or are there any at-home things people can do to help them?
I think it's more about getting the right help that they need for their unique challenges. I mean, there are tools like even our smartphones. If someone struggles with time management, they can set reminders for themselves that go off. They get a notification 15 minutes before their appointment to remind them that they have that coming up. So there are tools that they can use, but I think big picture wise, it's really better to identify the challenges and get the right support rather than looking for that kind of quick fix solution.
Yeah, ultimately it's better to get to the root of whatever is needed and get the right supports put into place. And then you have those moving forward, you have those tools and things like that. For adults that want to join a program, what does that look like? How do they sign up today if they're interested?
Sure. Well, in terms of our program, it's still all one-on-one. They would reach out. Our website's a great place to start. They would reach out to us. We would speak to them, learn about what their challenges are, what they're experiencing. Usually we'll set up an initial evaluation and then match them with a tutor. And we can provide the tutoring either in person in the local New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, or like I said earlier, we can do virtual tutoring nationwide, worldwide, and really give adults or kids that specialized one-on-one support.
I love that. And let's jump to the summer camps. You had mentioned do some summer programs. I think that's a wonderful way to, get people interested. We're coming right up on it's the end of April right now. So it's going to be right around the corner. This will come out next week. So perfect timing for that to burst into summertime. Tell people what you're doing for summertime for kids so that they can reach out and make some arrangements if there's still space available.
Yeah, so summer is, in my mind, such an important time to take advantage of for several reasons. One is that so many kids, we all know, experience that dreaded summer slide where they really can lose a lot of skills in reading, writing, and math because it's such a big gap of time. And many kids are really not doing anything or very little academic. And it's really an opportune time to work on skills building. If there's any foundational gaps, if there are math skills they haven't grasped, if they're struggling with writing, sometimes during the school year when they have a lot of homework, it's hard to really focus on core remedial skills building. Summer's a great time to do that. So during the summer, we continue with a lot of one-on-one tutoring. For some kids, we do intensive one-on-one tutoring. For other kids who are in camp, for example, we could do after camp, we do weekends. And then at the end of the summer, we have 2-week small group academic sessions. We have one that's the beginning of August and one in the last 2 weeks in August. And in the morning, it's our elementary program for kids entering grades 1 through 6. It meets 9 to 12 every day, and we use all research-based multi-sensory strategies for reading, spelling, writing, and math word problem solving. And then in the afternoon, that's more for middle school, high school kids, and that's more kind of study skills, executive functioning based. So we work on strategies for time management, organization, task initiation, note-taking, writing, reading comprehension, and just a great way to take advantage of that tail end of summer and really help jumpstart the school year on a positive note.
Oh yeah, they sound like they'd be ready. I mean, I want to come get ready for. That sounds fantastic. No, I love that. I love that you talked about the types of subjects. Obviously, there's probably so many subjects that you guys can cover, but the also activities that you guys do and that you I don't know why my brain is kind of blanking out, but yeah, I think that's wonderful. Oh, getting back to school. Exactly. Because I mean, you really just need to be, you feel so much better when you start back and you don't feel like you're behind or anything. So I would definitely take advantage of that, parents. If you're listening, definitely take advantage of some type of programs. What type of, I heard somebody saying in a summit that I was listening to about a lot of libraries having a lot of like activities, things like that. What other kind of resources, community resources do you advise parents to look into when they're not in tutoring?
Sure. Well, certainly libraries are a great place to go. I think the more kids can continue reading over the summer, the better. Writing is also so important. And I encourage parents to have their kids keep a journal even if it's about what they did in camp that day, or a vacation they went on, or a park they went to, any kind of writing, free writing, just to keep the flow of writing going. And then when it comes to math, they can integrate fun math into their daily lives. Maybe bake a batch of brownies and have their child measure out the volume of ingredients, and then decide, well, what if we were to double this recipe? How much would we need? What if we were to cut it in half? How much would we need? They can even take out different geometric shapes of pans and pots and work on geometry. So I think making it fun, but also integrating it into their daily lives. Same thing is true if they go on a road trip. How much gas will we need? How much will the gas cost? How many stops should we take? What is our budget? There's so many skills that can be integrated into their daily lives in a fun way to keep those skills going over the summer.
And I love how you said that too, because I think a lot of our neurodivergent families can really appreciate that if we can kind of keep that fresh in our mind to use those strategies while we're out in the world with our kiddo. My kid's 15, and I should now. I'm going to keep this in mind a little bit more today when I go to the grocery store. He's already like calculation off the charts, so I usually make him keep the calculation for me, anyways. But I don't often say like, this is how much we have, let's stay within this budget. I think I'm just going to play around with it a little bit more today when we go, and give him a little bit more power, because he was finished with school at like 12, 13, but the life skills, that's what we're working on. He's probably going to be still our forever home child. So, we're going to be working on those other skills. And I hope that he could be independent someday. Oh my gosh, that's any parent's dream, of course, but also our reality and great, pleasure to have him stay as long as he ever needed to. So, or for us to stay.
The life skills you can teach him, the closer he'll be to being independent. So, even one little
it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. What types of maybe like speech therapies, things like that, do you guys offer those things, or do you do referrals for those types of services?
We don't offer those other services like speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. We usually refer out. Of course, with speech therapy, as kids get older, there is a lot of overlap between the language-based tutoring that we do and what a speech therapist might do, meaning reading comprehension, writing, vocabulary. So we do a lot of that. But if a child specifically needs speech therapy, we would refer out for that.
Good. Well, I think this has been so helpful, wonderful information, so many resources. I learned so much, and I love that about podcasting, is that, you learn something from every guest you talk to, and it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. You have any exciting plans or events coming up, or anything we should look forward to?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. It's really been such a pleasure being on. I think, at this point, we're really pivoting towards the summer. We're super excited about our summer programs, about just doing a lot of great work over the summer. It's hard to believe it's around the corner, but it's always an exciting time. Isn't
that the truth? It just sneaks up on you all the time. The time just does that, doesn't it? It goes by so quickly. And I bet especially when you see those or get those stories from past students and things like that. So thank you so much for the work you're doing for children and adults, and just those who really need the support. And thank you for, getting the right information to do it, data tested and things that are really meaningful and important for parents to know. I appreciate that. I'm going to put your website up again, EBL Coaching. Please go check it out today and support them in any way. Are you also on social medias and things like that?
Oh, yes. We have channels on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok.
Okay. Well, you have a new follower today, and hopefully other listeners that are listening go and follow as well and get the information, because sometimes even just being able to follow some informational pages can really help you get tips for your child or adult that you're trying to get support for. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope that we can stay in touch.
Thank you for having me, and I would love to stay in touch.
Yes, thank you.
voice resonating, an anthem for all through the trials and the trials. She answers the call, a mother and a fighter, breaking barriers in stride. With love as her guide, she'll never hide. She's changing the world for you, with a heart that's fierce and strong. Empathy's a melody, in a journey we all belong. Followers gather like stars in the night, so bright. 44,000 voices sharing in the light. She stands for family, advocates for more, a movement of compassion, ways will soar. Podcast together, a symphony of support, creating life, changing rapport. She's changing the world for you, with a heart that's fierce and strong. Empathy's a melody, in a journey